Good morning, students. Today we'll be taking up a new poem. The name of the poem is Animals, and this poem is written by the poet Walt Whitman. Let's try to know more about the poet. Walt Whitman, 1819 1892, a major figure in early American poetry. During his times, all poetry was rhymed and metrical. Whitman made a break with tradition and wrote a new kind of poetry in free verse. He was a non-conformist. That means he did not believe in following rules in all respect, including his social life. He broke away from the traditional pattern of writing poetry, introduced what you call as writing poetry in free verse, and he was famous for writing a revolutionary new kind of poetry which was in free verse. Now, what exactly do you mean by the word free verse? Poetry that does not have rhyme or have a regular rhythm is a poem written in free verse. A poem that does not have a rhyme or a regular rhythm is written in free verse. This particular poem written by Walt Whitman, Animals, is from his work Song of Myself in Leaves of Grass. Children, observe the pictures that are given below. It's a comic strip. A small girl is complaining, "Oh, how boring. I have to eat this food today. If only I could have some pizza." Her pet dog is passing a remark. The dog also has some food that is kept in front of it. "I am so happy. I have got some food to eat." The second picture, there is a thief standing in a park. "If only I had changed my ways. Oh God, what a horrible life I have led." The third image, you have the picture of a cub and a lion's cub talking to a lion. "We do not collect or hoard things." The next image, again another pet is wondering, "I wonder what makes my master so angry." The last picture is a particular man who is a subject of a kingdom. He is bowing down to the king of the kingdom and he addresses him, "O great Lord, I bow down to you." Observe the pictures once again, children. There is a girl who is who has got food to eat, but she is wishing that if she could have had some pizza that day, it would have been better. On the other hand, the pet dog is really very happy to have a big piece of meat or bone. A thief is grumbling about the horrible life that he has led, and so he is asking God to forgive him, and he passes a remark, "If only I had changed my ways, how good it would have been." A cub and a lion is talking to each other. The cub passing a remark, "We do not collect or hoard things." The fourth one, a pet is passing a remark about his master. "I wonder what makes my master so angry." And the last picture, there's a king and a subject bowing down to him, and he's telling the king, "O great Lord, I bow down to you." Now, let us move over to the poem written by Walt Whitman, Animals. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. The poet Walt Whitman expresses his wish that he wants to turn, he wants to transform and live like an animal. He wants to live with animals. He wants to transform himself into an animal and live with animals. And what is the reason? He says that animals are so placid and so self contained. Placid. They're not easily upset. They don't get upset quickly and they are self contained. They are self sufficient. They are satisfied. They are contented. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not complain about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins, for the wrongdoings, whatever wrong acts they had committed. They do not weep in the dark for the sins that they have committed. And also, they do not discuss about their duty to God. They do not make the poet sick by discussing their duty to God. No one is dissatisfied, and not a single one is demented. Demented, disturbed, disturbed with the mania of owning things. Here, the poet talks about the qualities or the virtues that animals possess. But when he talks about these qualities that the animals have, what is he indirectly pointing out? He points out that all these traits, which are not seen in animals, are actually present in human beings. That is why, although he is a human being, he wants to turn, he wants to transform himself and become an animal. Why? Because animals are cool, they are self sufficient, they do not grumble, they do not complain about their condition. And unlike human beings, what do human beings do? Though throughout the day we work, at night, when we are about to rest, we are not able to sleep because man weeps for the sins that he has committed. At night, he weeps for the sins, for the wrong things that he has done. He prays to God. He regrets, he's full of regrets that about the evil things or wrong things that he has done throughout the day. What is another thing, characteristic feature of human beings? They always discuss about their duty to God. Very another important quality of human being, a trait, negative quality that human beings possess. Not one is satisfied. Unlike animals, human beings are never satisfied. They have this mad craze, okay, demented, they are disturbed with the mania or the craze of owning things. The list of desires is never ending. They want more and more luxuries and comforts. They're never satisfied. They keep on complaining and grumbling about their condition. They lie in the dark, they weep for their sins, they discuss their duty to God. All these characteristic features are not there present. These qualities are not there with animals. That's why the poet feels comfortable in the company of animals. And so he would like to transform himself into an animal and spend time in the company of animals. Let us go ahead. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. You don't find in the animal world a lion bowing down to another lion or a fox appreciating or rather taking another one as superior and bowing down to him. So, kneeling down here is bending down and expressing or accepting the superiority of someone else. Not one kneels to another, but what do we human beings do? We kneel down to someone who is our superior, of our own kind, will another human being. We bow down to another human being who has lived thousands of years ago. We bow down to great kings. We bow down to saints. We bow down to God. So, therefore, not one, but in the animal world, you don't find an animal bowing down to another. They don't even remember that such and such a great lion or tiger or fox existed long time ago. Okay, so not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. An over exaggerated statement. The poet Walt Whitman is saying that not a single animal is unhappy over the whole earth. Every animal is satisfied. No animal complains or grumbles about his condition. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. The poet is very comfortable with the company of animals because there is a mutual understanding. Because he also doesn't like these qualities that these negative traits that human beings possess. But when the animals do not have these negative traits, it is very easy for him to build up a relationship with them and he accepts these animals. They bring me tokens of myself. It's a very, very important line. They bring me tokens of myself. These tokens, what do you mean by these tokens? Tokens here stands for those virtues or those qualities like simplicity, okay, gratitude, innocence, satisfaction. These qualities which the poet himself should have possessed, okay, these are brought to him by the animals. They bring me tokens of myself. It's a contradictory statement here. The poet should have possessed all these qualities. But who is reminding him or who is making him aware of these qualities? The animals are showing him that these qualities we possess them. They evince them plainly in their possession. Animals are as if pointing out that, see, we have these qualities in us. These qualities or these virtues should have been present in human beings, but then we animals plainly possess them. Okay? They evince them plainly in their possession. What is the poet talking about? I wonder where they get those tokens. I really wonder from where did they get all these virtues and qualities. They have it in them, each and every animal. What are the qualities that the poet is talking about? They don't grumble, they don't complain, they are satisfied, they don't kneel down to another of their own kind. They are not, you don't find a single unhappy animal. Okay? So they don't get angry, they're very cool and calm. So he is wondering where did the animals get all these qualities or virtues? And the last line of the poem, did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Okay, what is the poet wondering? He's asking a rhetorical question. A rhetorical statement, a rhetorical question is where there is no answer expected. But then instead of putting it as a statement for more emphasis, the poet is using a rhetorical question. Did I pass that way huge times ago? Maybe long, long time ago, mankind also possessed these qualities, but negligently, he was very careless and he dropped them in the process of evolution. While he was evolving to become a better human being, a cultured human being, he must have dropped them. He must have given up these qualities as he progressed in the path of evolution. Did I pass that way huge times ago, that is long, long time ago, and carelessly, negligently drop them? Kneels down, bows down, envins to show or reveal, possession, ownership of something. Tokens. The word tokens here means qualities or virtues like innocence, simplicity, contentment, that is satisfaction. Negligently, carelessly. Okay. So we come to the end of this poem. First question that we have here in the textbook, from where is the poet turning away? In the first two lines, the poet says, I want to turn and be an animal myself. So he's turning away from where? He's turning away from the human world, from being a human being. What craze do animals never display? Animals never display the craze of owning things. You don't find a cat or a dog or a lion partaking the food that he has got and he says, okay, let me save it for next week. I'll have this next week. I'll have it tomorrow. I'll have it day after tomorrow. No, they just finish eating their the food that they have hunted and then they leave it there and the other animals take it up. So therefore they do not have the craze of owning things. But the moment man gets something which is available slightly at a cheaper cost, he thinks of owning more and more. He'll instead of he may need only one, but he may buy four or five more because it is available at a cheaper rate. So, this craze of hoarding or owning things, accumulating things, is a characteristic feature of human beings which the poet dislikes. What could have happened to the tokens of the poet's self? Tokens here stands for the virtues or the good qualities like simplicity, innocence, satisfaction, etc. The tokens of the poet's self might have been lost along the path of evolution from animal to human beings. Did I lose them? Did I drop them somewhere? Okay, long time ago. That is what he's telling. So, the path along the path of evolution from being an animal to human being, the poet says he must have negligently dropped them. Let's come to the central idea of the poem, children. In this poem, the poet Walt Whitman has compared human beings and animals. He has praised the qualities that animals possess and therefore he wants to be in their company. That's why he says, I think I should turn and be a animal. He expresses his wish to transform into an animal. He indirectly points out the negative traits or qualities present in human beings which he thinks animals do not have. He therefore thinks that animals are much better than human beings because those negative traits which mankind possesses, you don't find them in animals. On the other hand, those positive qualities which human beings should have, Walt Whitman notices that animals possess those virtues or those good qualities, and therefore he goes on to he compares animals and human beings, and he says that animals are better than human beings. He wishes to live with animals and to experience a life where no one complains and where everyone is free of sins and sorrows. There's no question of accumulating, there is no question of hoarding, there are no desires, and so therefore every animal just gets up in the morning, whatever it gets to eat, drink, it is happy with that. End of the day, there is no worries because unlike human beings who worry about, weep about whatever they didn't get, or worry about how to um, safeguard whatever they have got, animals don't have to worry about all that. So therefore, there's no question of committing any sin, and there are no sorrows as desire is the root cause of sorrow. So, therefore, the craze or the mania of owning things leads to sorrow. The most important theme of the poem is not to admire how good animals are. Why do you think the poet is pointing out that these good qualities animals possess? The objective of the poet is to compare human beings with animals in order to focus on the defects that human beings possess. Okay, it is not to just to appreciate or admire how good animals are, but indirectly what is the aim or objective? The theme is that he wants to focus on the defects that human beings have in their nature, the negative traits that human beings possess. The poet believes that probably a very long time ago human beings possessed all the qualities such as calmness, innocence, simplicity, lack of greed, and the ability to stay happy. But however, he has now lost them. The tone of the poem is very simple and reflective. Reflective means it actually makes us think about how good we are as human beings. Are we better than animals, or do we have to give up our negative traits to really become human beings? Here there is an activity, positive qualities of animals and negative qualities possessed by human beings. If we compare them, we'll, we can say that animals are very placid, okay? But human beings, on the other hand, they don't get placid, they don't get, animals don't get upset about anything very easily. Unless and until you torment them, torture them, or they feel their safety or security is endangered in some way, okay, they feel they will be harmed, they don't attack. They move quietly, they move away quietly, they avoid the company of human beings. But here human beings are always dissatisfied. Animals are always self-contained and happy. And human beings, however, what is the root cause of dissatisfaction? The craze for owning things, the mania for owning things. Here animals do not discuss their duty towards God, but human beings do discuss the duty towards God. They are unhappy, and human beings are greedy. Human beings worship someone who is superior to them. They're always grumbling and complaining. Animals, on the other hand, do not worship someone or kneel down before someone of their own kind. They do not complain about their condition. Now, let us try to look at the poetic devices that the poet has used. There are some literary devices that the poet has used. Let's take the first line of the poem. I think I could turn and live with animals. I stand and look at them long and long. I think I could. I stand. The alphabet I is repeated, and I is also A, E, I, O, U. So vowel sound I is repeated. So this literary device here is called as assonance, where the use of vowel sound I. This repetition of this vowel sound I. These two lines, again they begin with I. Okay. So when two lines of a particular poem or three lines of a particular poem, subsequent lines of a particular poem begin with the same word, okay, it is called anaphora. For example, when we did the first poem where the mind is without fear, every single line of that particular poem began with the word where, WHERE. So therefore that's an example of anaphora. Here, the word I is used at the start of two consecutive lines. There, the word where was used at the start of consecutive lines. Again, here, I stand and look at them long and long. Repetition, the word long is repeated for better, for poetic effect or poet emphasis. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick, discussing their duty to God. Again, anaphora. They word is used at the start of two consecutive lines. They do not sweat, they do not lie awake, they do not make me sick. Every line has begun with the word they. They do not make me sick, discussing their duty to God. Discussing D, do not D. Okay, discussing again D, duty again D. Sound of the letter D is repeated, therefore it is alliteration. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. Here the words, it's tautology. Two words have the same, almost the same meaning. Sweat and whine here in this context have got the same meaning. So it is tautology. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Okay? No one is mad or crazy about owning things. So it is hyperbole. It's an exaggerated statement. No one, not a single one. So the poet is exaggerating the entire idea that animals do not possess the mania or craze of owning things. Not one, no one, not one is demented. So hyperbole, exaggerated statement. They bring me tokens of myself. They bring me tokens of myself. Me and myself. Similar words, with similar meaning. Tautology again. They bring me tokens of myself. something which I should possess. I have with me. How can someone bring it for me? So again, a contradictory statement is expressed. All these qualities, who should have possessed? The poet himself should have possessed. But the animals remind him of these tokens or these virtues. So he says, they bring me tokens of myself. So paradoxical statement, contradictory statement. So the figure of speech is paradox. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. Again, hyperbole, over exaggerated statement. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Rhetorical question is asked. There's a question mark. Okay. Then answer is not expected, but instead of putting it up as a statement, the poet is asking a question in order to emphasize the idea. So, did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Rhetorical question. So, children, we come to the end of this particular poem here. I have discussed the figures of speech, central idea of the poem, and now the notes are provided to you, and in that you have the poem appreciation. Remember that the poem appreciation is a compulsory question for 5 marks. And once a poem is completed, if you learn up the appreciation, it will be very good so that you can score well in that particular question. Appreciation, you can learn it point wise, but when you write it in the exam paper, you will have to put it in the paragraph format. You will not get any marks if you write it in point format. While learning, you can learn it as points, but then when you are presenting it in the board paper, you will have to put it up as a paragraph. And the points for the appreciation has been given in the first poem, that is title, name of the poet, central idea, figures of speech used. These are some of the points that you need to cover in the poem appreciation. Okay. So next lesson, what we will be taking up is the 3 questions, some more language study, and the 3 questions. That is what is the next lesson that we'll be taking up. I hope you have viewed all the videos which have been presented so far. In case you have any doubts related to any of these chapters or related to any grammar topics which we have covered, you can always put it up on the personal chat and clear or clarify your doubts. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.